Broadcasting now. It'll just take a second for the YouTube to pop up. And
there it is.
Periscope. Somebody asked me why Periscope. I said, well, why not?
Yeah, I just got the alert
Hit everything, Matt.
for YouTube, and there's the Periscope.
Yep.
Periscope.
Yeah, so the three of us, or the four of us that are on vocal, if we hear Kelly or Yardley talking, try to let them finish because there's a delay. When we were doing this the other night, Trin and I were, she was talking, but I wasn't hearing her talk, and then we were talking over each other.
Facebook said Facebook. Well, I don't know if it popped up as a.
Well, yeah, I got Periscope, so
You got
I'm on there.
Periscope.
How much of a delay?
It's pretty significant because she was talking and I was just right over top of her. I didn't even know she was talking. Hey, somebody joined.
Are people in the chat saying that there's a delay?
No. When we tested it the other day, Chris, Trin, and it happened with us.
Oh, it's working. Facebook Live.
Yeah, where everybody's live.
All right, so Facebook. Yep, there is lag. Sorry, Cameron.
Got a couple people in the Periscope.
All right, so who's going to keep an eye on Facebook for me?
Facebook? We don't really get a lot of live interaction on Facebook.
Well, we do now.
Are we live on Facebook too?
Yeah, we're live on
Oh,
Facebook,
geez.
Periscope, YouTube, and Get Vocal. I
Ooh.
figured it out.
We should go live on Instagram too one time
Izzy
too.
from Japan. Whoa, that's awesome.
Let's not. Instagram is trash.
Cameron's here. Todd's here.
Hassan is here. Strange
that's awesome. We got
TV is
a hell
here.
of a thing
Hi
here.
guys.
We have a couple people on Periscope too,
Danielle
so
is here.
everybody on Periscope.
Awesome. We will
We're
try to
getting
keep
some
track
hearts.
of all the comments.
It's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
It's gonna be tough.
Cheryl's on Facebook. Mama Cheryl.
Mama Cheryl.
All right. So let's just get this party started and
Yeah.
just try to keep track of the chat as best we can.
Okay. I will do Facebook and YouTube.
I got Periscope.
Julie's got Periscope. Trin has, what did she say, Facebook?
She's
Facebook
got both.
and YouTube.
Oh, wow. Oh,
That's
Yeah,
what I do.
MySpace. I wish, Kente. I wish. I loved
Double bar.
MySpace.
All right, here we go.
When you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die.
Very exciting.
Warning, this podcast contains explicit language and spoilers. This is Behind the Iron Throne, your unofficial Game of Thrones podcast.
Okay, and we're going to actually hit the record button here. So give me 3, 2, 1. And we are recording, and here we go. I'm going to do the intros. Well, hello. Welcome back, Thronies. This is episode 206, where we'll be discussing Winterfell, Game of Thrones, Season 8, Episode 1. Holy cats. Recorded April 15th, 2019. I'm your host, Chris Gray, and I'm joined tonight by a great panel of Game of Thrones enthusiasts. Let's get them all introed, and we're going to talk about the show format. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, you know him, you love him. He is the amazing, he is the talented, he is bald. He is General Jonathan Stomas, Lord Ductarian of the Wicker People. Welcome to the show, buddy.
What's up, Chris? Nice to be here.
It's good to have
So excited.
you.
Let's
Oh,
do
buddy.
this.
Let's do it. Next up, we have my lovely and talented sister, Julie, from the Hockey Hour podcast. What's up, kid? Oh, and from, of course, Nerd Theater.
What's up, everybody? Happy to be here. Let's get this show on the road. Let's do this.
We have the lovely and talented Dragon Whisperer. Her name is Trin, and she is looking mighty good. What's up, girl?
Super happy to be here. By the way, I'm Team Sansa.
Go Team Sansa, go. Next up, we have someone that's been on the podcast since day one. She's been a very close friend of mine. Her name is Kelly. Holla back at ya. Holla, what's up, Kelly?
Hello, I'm happy to be here. I'm sad that we are at the last season, but we're going to make it a good one.
Yes, and I'm glad that you're here with us because you started the show with us and you're ending the show with us. It's fantastic to have you.
It's bittersweet.
And of course, the man who needs no introduction. He literally flies around on a in the Millennium Falcon, checking out the ladies. He also has a Valyrian steel Gatling gun. He's the one, the only, the militant marker, Yardley. What's up, buddy?
Hey, everything's good, man. I'm very excited to do this show, and we only have a handful of episodes left, but I'm kind of happy to have been here this long, and even happier that I'm going to be able to close it out with Behind the Iron Throne.
Yay! So real quick, couple announcements before we get into the show. I'm going to try to make this as fast as possible because we have a lot of content to go over. The format of this particular podcast is very simple. We are going to review Season 8 each episode the Monday after, as you can plainly see, at 8:30 Eastern Time, and we're going to do that show live on Get Vocal. We're going to do it live on BehindTheIronThrone.tv, which is our YouTube channel, on at Behind the Iron on our Periscope, and on Facebook Live because I got it to work at the last minute. Hot shit. So we're going to be live all over the place, so there's no excuse why you can't join us except for maybe time. But we'd love to have you. And, of course, if you can't make it, you can download the podcast on one of our, either on iTunes or Google or wherever you get your podcast. It'll always be available after the fact. We try to go through the show relatively quickly. Everyone watching live, we will do our very best to get your comments in the show when we can. If not, usually during the post-show, we chit-chat with you for a while. But fear not, because after the season is over, we're going to do a more in-depth review right after that. We're going to have your opinions really spotlighted on the show. And that's where the Get Vocal will come into play, because you'll be able to jump in with us or chat, whichever you feel more comfortable doing. That being said, we love having you guys. You're an amazing community, and you make everything happen. Also, there's still 1 week left to purchase your Ice and Fire Con tickets. That's right. If you go to iceandfirecon.com, you can get tickets and see your favorite podcast hosts, not just from Behind the Iron Throne, but all the other different podcasters are going to be there. And we have a discount code for you. Thronies will save you $5. Hey, $5 is a beer right at the bar. It's in Deer Creek, Ohio, from the 27th, I think it is, to the 29th. It's Thursday to Sunday. I think that's the right dates. If not, look it up at their website. Please go, because we're doing like a VIP meet and greet. It's going to be off the rails, and I'm hoping that Trin gets trashed, because we're going to dance. We're going to do some really awesome stomping and dancing. I'm going to show everyone my moves.
Oh boy. I apologize, everybody.
There's karaoke.
Oh,
we're
Christ.
doing karaoke, John. You and me, pal. You and me, pal.
Yes.
All right, so that's the basic info for the beginning of the show. I want to mention that Game of Thrones Season 8 premiere drew 17.4 million viewers, setting new multi-platform records. That is incredible. There is no other show like this on TV. There isn't. I'm watching it on 4K last night, and even though it's, HBO Now is what I use to stream, is not 4K, it looks phenomenal. It doesn't look fake like some of the other shows I watch in 4K. It looks gorgeous. The backdrop, the scene, the makeup, it is just absolutely phenomenal. They put a lot of effort into the show, and it really shows. And, of course, we, the fans, also love it. And thank you so much, Yardley, for putting these show notes together, and everyone on the team for putting your notes into the show. You guys are awesome. All right. So let's get to the first scene here that we arrive to, which is arrival at Winterfell. And I'm just going to say, to me, it was such an homage, such an Easter egg, if you will, back to Season 1, Episode 1, like when we had the pilot. So many connections here. Yardley, what are you thinking for arrival at Winterfell? Our first setup here.
Well, what I thought was cool that they sped through the reunions. I think that this is something that a lot of us probably anticipated. We knew the pacing for this season was going to be brisk, and at the same time, it probably should be, because since things are coming to a close, there's not a ton of stuff that you can add. You're kind of narrowing everything down. So I thought that was cool. And one of the best things for me was seeing that Sansa's kind of rooted herself as the kind of the interim ruler of Winterfell. And it was kind of cool to see the North looking to her for guidance. And not only that, it's the fact that she just really appears that she has her stuff together. She's thinking about supplies. She was doing this going back to last season. So I think that is definitely really cool. And, I guess, if you've been a fan of this show and have watched it from the beginning, just kind of seeing, John come back home and knowing that he's going to get to see everybody. I thought that was pretty dope.
Yeah, that's awesome. I also forgot to mention the opening scene when they were doing the whole opening of the map. I have it written down. I just went right past it like a knucklehead. It was phenomenal. I thought that was really cool how they did it. And it was from the Night King's perspective, at least the way I got it. You have the broken down wall, and then as we go to Last Hearth, the ice turns to a dark, like a different blue color as you're getting there. And it was cool. And then because we're only really shooting in a couple of different spots in season 1 or episode 1, season 8, episode 1, it went on the inside of Winterfell and the inside of King's Landing. And I thought that was really awesome how they did this. It really blew me away. I didn't know. What were your thoughts on that, Yarly?
No, I thought that it was cool. It actually makes you, ready for the next episode to see, the different things that they're going to do with it. We know that they had I think they had a little bit of a bigger budget, you know what I'm saying? So I think that they went all in. So it'll be kind of cool to see how things play out as it goes. The graphics are pretty cool, and it keeps you on your toes. It's almost like you're straining yourself to try to pay attention to everything that's going on. And then, you never see everything, but I thought it was great.
Awesome. Let's see. Who are we going to go with next? Let's see. Check my notes here because I went over to Facebook and someone said some really funny comment. Trin, you're up next. What did you think about that opening map scene right in the beginning when the music kicks on and you see the astroglaive with the different you see the different things on it? The arrival at Winterfell.
Yeah. So every season, it seems like they outdo themselves or they step it up just a little bit. And this season, with the fact that you got that new map and we have a new and improved astrolabe, it's I mean, they blow our minds every time. And then that first King's Arrival type scenario was a callback. Obviously, they told us this in all of the promo videos that we saw and all of the things that were written in the interviews and stuff with the cast, that it was going to do a callback to the pilot episode. And I don't know if anybody else knows this, or realized this at the time, but they used the same music from the original score of episode 1 when it's called The King's Arrival. And that was, it just, I personally have watched season 1 probably 25 times. So I immediately picked up and said, oh, it's the same music. Oh my gosh. But that whole procession was very telling. There wasn't a whole lot of words that were spoken during that. It was just a lot of looks, and Arya's looking at her little, caravan of friends going by, and you see her smile at Jon like longingly, and then you see her kind of scowling at the Hound as he rides by, and none of the people can see her. And then you see her see Gendry, and there's just like a little spark of interest in her eyes, and I thought that was adorable. And then Missandei and Grey Worm didn't have any speaking parts in this episode. However, you saw them sort of exchange looks, and their looks were like, these people have never seen a different skin color, and they're looking at us all kind of crazy. Like, I don't know if anybody else noticed that. But they did qualify that later and say over and over and over again that the Northerners do not like anyone foreign at all. And it doesn't matter if you're a white-haired, pasty female or if you're a dark-skinned warrior from somewhere else. Like, they don't like foreigners at all. So just that, I think that emphasized, like, we're not cool with having anybody who's not Northern with us. They don't like the Lannisters. They don't like anybody. But yeah, so that was kind of like my first impression of the arrival. I have a ton of notes, but I don't want to hog up the show.
Well, that's okay, because keep those notes, because like I said in the beginning of the show, when we get to the end of this review for season 8, we're we're going to go back and review every episode in more detail and get you guys, our hashtag BTIT Army, involved more than ever before. It's very important to us.
I did just want to say that probably the best part of the opening was when everybody was anticipating the cattiness between Dany and Sansa in their meeting. And I rewatched it a couple of times, and Bran immediately says, we don't have time for this. like your like female cat thing that you're doing right now, like we don't have time for this. We got shit to do. And he immediately.
Have I ever mentioned how much I hate Bran? And I hated him so much in this episode. He was like,
really?
He just looked like such
we'll
a
get to it.
Okay,
we'll get to it. But every time, I'm not going to comment like you guys are because I want you guys to really have the spotlight. I'm just hosting. But every time I saw him, he was creeping around, and I just cannot stand him right now. I just cannot.
Hey, Chris, is that actor stealing money?
Yeah. Yes.
He did in this episode.
Yeah. Creeping around. I just couldn't stand him. Just couldn't do it. All right, let's see. John, I believe you're next, right, bud?
Yeah. Love the opening title sequence. Thought it was amazing. I agree with a lot of what Yardley said. I love the Unsullied marching into Winterfell and the long column, the kid trying to find trying to climb up to see it, kind of throwback to Arya when she did that in season 1. So I thought that was awesome. The North not liking what Jon did, bending the knee. It's understandable because they're prideful people who don't like foreigners. Jon being challenged by Sansa for everything. That'll change when the dead comes. Jon always thinking of the big picture. Again, bending the knee. I think Sansa in the North is underestimating the threat of the Night King and the dead. All of them are just they're just underestimating it. But once they see it in person, I think they'll fully back Jon and Dany. So the North will fully back them when they're coming. The reunions made me tear up. This is the first time in season 1 that all the Starks that are surviving are in Winterfell. So that kind of made me tear up. And I think my best quote is from Sansa, "What do dragons eat anyway?" And Dany goes, "Whatever they want." I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Hey, can I ask y'all a question real quick?
Yeah, shoot.
Well, had Jon not bent the knee and everything continued to play out the way that it was, they would have still ended up in the same place regardless. I think a character on the show had kind of brought that up. It wouldn't have mattered, unless she would have killed him if he didn't do it. But
so you mean if he came in as king anyways with Dany as queen?
Yeah, you remember, last season, when they had the episode, I think it was the penultimate or whatever episode, when, they were talking about, the union or whatever, about him bending the knee. I was saying with the threat that was coming at some point, I think that she would have had to end up trying to find Jon or go to Winterfell to try to rally anyway, because the threat would have, like it's going to do everybody, the threat was going to, push everybody further south.
As we're doing the show, I'm watching on my iPad over here. I'm watching as we're doing it, and they just did that aerial shot of Winterfell, and I got to say that's one of the best aerial shots of Winterfell I've ever seen this show ever do. It was so well done. I just can't get over how they do this. And now I'm watching Jon greet, Bran, the new Dream Creeper. God, I can't even look at his face. It just drives me absolutely crazy. Real quick, did you guys notice how Dany was kind of when Jon was talking to Dany, he's like, the North don't like outsiders. And then when Dany's dragons first fly over, she gets a smirk on her face like I give a shit. Did anyone else notice that? No, when Dany.
Oh, Dany. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was a really bad impression.
Yeah. But it was all these people are watching you.
Mm-hmm.
And you make that face, that shit sandwich.
Yes.
I got you.
Yes.
Big time mistake.
I'm not fond of Dany this episode at all.
She's got dragons and they don't, so she can have whatever face she wants.
I didn't like her in the beginning.
True.
Dany in the beginning, but I liked her later on. Let's see. I think next, Julie, you're up. So, how did you like the intro, the arrival at Winterfell? your
Well,
thoughts.
let's start off by the intro, the opening sequence. I was completely taken aback by that. I never expected a brand new high scaled opening in the capacity that we got. Number one. Number two, one of the things that really stuck out to me, and Chris, you brought up something that I didn't even think of, that it was in the Night King's perspective almost, going through the hole in the wall, through New Hearth, and then through Winterfell. But one of the things that really, really stood out to me in that opening sequence, because remember, the opening sequence kind of sets up a lot of stuff. If you go and you watch all the 7 seasons before this, each episode has something new added or something taken away or whatever the case may be. I have a feeling that might be the opening sequence for the entire season. I don't think there's going to be anything added into it, maybe. But the one part of that opening sequence that really stuck out to me was the room where the dragon skulls in King's Landing. So when they go into that portion of it, and at the end is that dragon skull, it stuck out to me for a certain reason. I don't know why, but that was the one part that I was like, that just really stuck out for me. As far as the arrival at Winterfell, first of all, when you see the young boy running, I'm thinking, oh shit, he's running from the Night King. He's coming to warn them that he's coming closer. That's what at first I thought. And then I hear the sound of the Unsullied. I'm like, oh, okay, they've arrived. They're home, right? So Jon's back. So when you get that sequence of the kid trying to get up the tree and, doing what I think all of us did when we were kids, when we saw like Memorial Day parades and all that stuff, you want to get a better vantage point. I thought that young boy really sparked a thing like, wow, this is cool. Look at all these guys, right? But very badass to see Dany and Jon. And again, I love her coat. We talked about it when we reviewed the trailer. I love the coat. I think it's absolutely beautiful and she looks amazing in it. But what really got me, I was like, whoa, was when they did the aerial shot of all the Unsullied and the Dothraki in the background. And I was like, that's a pretty big freaking army. And I didn't expect it to be quite that big. I thought it kind of narrowed a bit, but then I remembered that the Dothraki came with her. So that was stunning visually. As far as the meet and greet and the, hug it out, bromance, let's, whatever, when they got back in, it was fine. Bran says something when Jon bends down to talk to him. I couldn't hear it for some reason. I don't know what was going on.
Jon says, look at you. You're a man. And Bran says, almost.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so yeah, like the only joke he's told in 2 seasons.
Right? It was funny.
But
Bran's cracking jokes now.
Yeah, so I mean, it was a typical brother's home. Here's the new wife. We don't really want to talk to her. Whatever. I thought it was interesting that Arya was not in the courtyard when Jon came back. She was, hiding among the common folk, which I loved, by the way. I love that she was able to blend, and she kind of gave Jon a smirk like, yay, my brother's home, little does she know. And the Sansa thing, and Trin, you nailed it right on the head. Sansa getting all bitchy and whatever, and Bran going, we don't have time for this. Like, knock it off. We don't have time for this. So I thought overall, that opening portion of the show, and I think it was we're going into the first like 15 minutes of the show. I thought it really set the tone of just how big this is going to be. You have the dragons flying over, and Sansa kind of was like, wow, like she was impressed, and we thought she would be when we reviewed the trailer. But yeah, it's exactly how I expected it to be. Like he's home. Okay, now the real shit's going to begin.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to cover in here. I mean, you had a whole bunch of dragon glass, Gendry's there, the procession, the awesome intro. It's pretty intense with all these characters. But one of my favorite takeaways from the beginning here was when Tyrion and Varys are talking, and he was making the
oh yeah,
at least your balls aren't going to freeze off.
No, I was pissed off at that scene. That's probably my least favorite scene because, okay, listen.
Here we go.
We have had 7 seasons, and when did Varys and Tyrion sort of like start hanging out? Like, was it season 5? when they were
Whenever-
doing a lot of like when he whisked him off to Essos.
Yeah, but there was some stuff going on before that when
Yeah.
Tyrion was there and he was promised to Sansa and stuff like that. It was kind of beginning,
Right.
and then
So
it really came when they went to Essos.
So since maybe season 2, when Tyrion was the surrogate hand of the king, whatever, we've heard the dwarf and eunuch jokes over and over, and it's a little overdone. And the fact that they wasted 45 seconds of a highly intense on another pair of stupid jokes that nobody thinks funny because we've heard them every season. Come on, man. I don't want to see any more.
Well, I thought they were funny, but you
Well,
make a good point.
you
We had
are a
other
man,
things
and
to get
jokes
to.
are always funny to you every time. So
we had to get
I
to
liked it.
things. I agree. We don't have a lot of time to be playing
just-
fuck around with jokes.
yeah, I don't think that that's necessary, honestly.
That's a good point, DJ. And they only gave Yara 3 minutes.
Well, we'll get
Right?
to that. We're gonna get to
We'll
that.
get to that. All right. So Kelly, you're up. What do you think?
I might have to return my Game of Thrones card because I skipped right past the intro. So now I got to go back and watch it since everybody says it was so awesome. I'm sorry, I got to disagree with you guys. I loved the smile that Dany gave when the dragons flew in, and she was like, "I don't need them to like me." You know, she's facing a lot. She just lost one of her dragons, and she did it for these people. And I understand the North doesn't like new people, but I give her kudos for hanging on to her attitude and strength even in the face of that. So I enjoyed the look she gave. The other reunions, they were okay. The one between Arya and Jon felt really underwhelming, though. I don't know why. I liked the one with Jon and Sansa. I thought that was more heartfelt. And Jon and Arya just seemed to fall a little bit flat.
Oh, you thought so?
Yeah.
I thought that
Like-
was. I was expecting a little bit more, but I thought it was okay.
I mean,
I
it
agree
was
with Kelly.
nice.
I
Yeah,
agree
you
with
thought
Kelly
it was
as
flat?
well.
You guys thought it was really flat.
Yeah.
Huh.
How'd you
Mhm.
survive a knife wound to the heart? I didn't. It was just kind of really lame.
Yeah. I mean, it was nice when they broke, like, when Arya finally broke her assassin face.
Yeah, the whole exchange
to
of
him.
like talking about the swords and needle and stuff. I was like, this better have some significance down the road because right now it doesn't make any damn sense why you're enjoying each other's swords. You know what I'm saying? It was a little weird.
That's so wrong.
Well, I kind of think that the awkwardness was purposeful, though. They're totally different people from the time.
They haven't seen each other in a long time.
Yeah,
right,
they
Arya?
have in years. So I don't know. I thought that I didn't. I put it like this. That wasn't one of my favorite scenes, but I understand why it was awkward, and I definitely agree with the the whole thing about the joke. Isn't that like the first joke Jon Snow has told like since he was at the wall? You know what I mean? So. Yeah, but I understand, but I don't know. Wouldn't y'all feel like it would be weird if it would have been too mushy with all that both of them have been through?
Yeah.
Well,
They were the closest.
Yeah, I would say with Arya and Jon, it should have been more because remember, Arya hadn't seen Jon since he left to go to the wall. So, because he's seen Sansa before, he's even seen Theon before he's seen Arya. So I just felt like it should have been a little bit more.
But,
Mhm.
well, think about it like this. Maybe the fact that, remember, Arya was there, Jon left. She's had time to chat with Sansa about how much it's going to suck that Daenerys is going to be coming back with Jon. So I think that she's probably feeling some kind of way as well. You know what I mean? So when he comes back, you've got Sansa, Arya, and then everybody else gassing themselves up about all the reasons why this isn't a good idea. They're pissed off at Jon for leaving in the first place. So I don't know. It just kind of worked for me under all of the circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand why, but I just keep going back to John and Sansa. Like they were not close, and like I did the ugly cry when those two got back together, and I was expecting something just a little bit more heartfelt from Arya and John, because everybody's changed drastically from when they last saw each other.
Yeah.
I think
Excellent point.
because that's because that was the first Stark that they both have seen when it comes to Sansa and John in like years. That's why that was so emotional.
And
I
they
think
have
with Arya and
just
John,
both
Arya has
gone
done so
through.
much. She's been through a lot. John has died and come back. So I think there was a little awkwardness, but I kind of like the scene. I think you need a little bit of that in this show, in this episode.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I'm surprised she didn't whip out her Valyrian steel
Dagger?
dagger. Yeah,
She.
Yeah,
Oh
me
yeah, that's
too.
right. She didn't.
like look what I got.
She did when she met with Gendry,
Oh right, yeah,
but she didn't when she was with John.
that's a good point. All right, so I think we've covered some of. There's a lot more that we need to cover, but we're going to do that in an extended episode later on down the road. For the sake of time, we're going to move on to the next section, a King's Landing section, where we have Cersei sitting, Cersei and Euron and Qyburn talking. We have Euron, Yara, and
Yeah, he's urine, all right.
Bronn, and Captain Strickland. So these are the points I want to talk about in this next section. We'll let Yarly take it away with this next section.
Yeah, I mean, we jump right in. Qyburn is pretty much showing us that he's standing strong as Cersei's hand, and he seems to pretty much revel in it. Something that I picked up on the first viewing was when he was basically mentioning that that Cersei had certain plans for Dany, or the Dragon Queen, as she calls her. So I thought that was cool. But Qyburn's interaction with Bronn, where he asks basically, well, first he starts off by saying he doesn't think that Tyrion or Jaime would survive the fight, and then turns right back around and asks him to essentially, assassinate. I thought that I thought he was talking about Tyrion. I don't think that he was referring to him potentially killing Jaime. Do y'all think that was the case?
I don't think so at first.
Yeah.
He said brother.
I think Qyburn said brothers.
Brothers. He
I
did.
heard brothers.
He said brothers. I mean, I thought it was just going to be Tyrion when I saw the bow.
That's what I thought too.
I was like, oh, that's some
poetic
bullshit.
justice.
But he definitely said brothers.
It's poetic justice
But
with
when he was
either
saying
brother.
brothers, I thought that was in reference to him saying the brothers wouldn't survive the attack.
That could have been. That could have been.
But,
we can go back and check it out.
yeah.
Because
But I thought, no, I was just saying, but I thought that was kind of a cool thing, because when we were doing the show notes, I had mentioned, the things that I had mentioned about this scene. One would wonder, would Bronn be the type of person who would, accept that deal, to kind of get all the things that he always wanted. I don't think that Bronn's an idiot. So he knows that, Cersei could, of course, change her mind or something like that. But he also knows that, if she needs you, she'll keep using you and give you that bread. I feel like Bronn as a character has probably been the most consistent character on this show. No matter who he's with, he's always made his intentions known, that he's about the money and coming up, whether it was with Tyrion or Jaime. So even though I like Bronn and I like his relationship with those characters, if they did go there and actually have him try to kill them, I can't say that he's out of character.
that makes sense. And Elizabeth is saying yes, brothers. So possibly there.
In Euron's scene with with Yara and Cersei, yeah, I'm with you. I don't really, I don't like Euron because he's so one note and kind of obnoxious. You know what I mean? So like, I think his scenes really solidified himself as just, I don't know. He's like
he's a one-trick pony.
Plot device. Yeah, and it's just, I don't know. It's just kind of tiresome for me. Like, I'm over that character.
An annoying lunatic.
Yeah, he has no dimension.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and one last thing, and then I'm going to turn it over to someone else. It was the mention of the Golden Company having been left, and like that was just screaming out, we used the budget on the dragons. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So,
no
of course,
elephants?
don't fare
Mhm.
well at sea, and neither does our budget.
She was really fucked up about the
She
elephant.
was mad about the
Yeah.
elephants.
Wow,
But that's a big deal, though,
Yeah.
isn't it? No,
Yeah,
that's
it's funny. Though,
Yeah,
because
it's just more food
Twice
for the
mentioned
dragons.
yeah, twice she
Yeah.
mentioned it. She was really I would be more upset that I just let this guy Euron into my bed.
Yeah.
I mean,
As long as he didn't urinate in her bed.
I thought that was kind of square, but I know that y'all are gonna get on
Golden
that.
company, golden showers, kind of goes hand in hand, doesn't it?
Well, hey, your boy Theon. Also, I want to mention that Theon ends up rescuing Yara, which I think a lot of us were saying was probably going to be the case. But I thought it was kind of cool, even though I don't think that he owes. I know he has to pay a penance, but I think he's been doing that for the treachery, that happened at Winterfell. But I find it interesting that he would rather go back to Winterfell instead of helping his sister reclaim the Iron Islands when that was the cause of him betraying the Starks in the first place. So
I totally screwed that one up because I always make the joke that my predictions fail, and I predicted that Theon was not going to rescue shit. He was going to die, and I was flat out wrong. Totally wrong.
Are most of y'all still on board with the notion that Theon isn't going to survive all of this?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
have a new idea about Theon's
Oh,
arc.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's I think he's toast. I just don't know when.
I mean, really though? I mean, y'all don't think that there's any
He made
chance-
the choice to go back to Winterfell. That's the issue. I don't think he's going to survive even walking into Winterfell.
He will. He will, and I'll explain
Yeah,
in
he's
a
gotta
second
get there
why.
first.
I mean,
right?
the fact of the matter is Theon is now walking back into Winterfell, where he literally betrayed House Stark and pretended to burn whom he thought was Bran and Rickon.
He has a
And
mission.
he
There's
saved
a very
Sansa's
specific
life.
reason.
Danielle
That may be
said
true,
that-
but
Daniel says, I wish you were right, Chris. He needs to die. Thank you. I'm glad someone's on my side.
I think when he saved Sansa, I think that was kind of a big deal. I try not to be the person to try to extend how much someone has to say they're sorry and do all of this other stuff. But I think he has done things along the way, I guess, over the last couple of years show-wise that have been, helpful to trying to, pay back some of the things that he's done. But
I think that remember we talked earlier about how thank you, Danielle says always on my side. Yay! I got a fan. I think that one of the things that we were talking about earlier was like the joke that Terry made about the freezing balls and how that wasted time. There's a whole lot of time wasted in that scene where Euron and Cersei, after the bedding, and I'm going to put a prince in your belly, and it's like, what? Like we could have got rid of all that.
vomit. I wanted to
Yeah.
vomit.
But did
and
you
would have had more room for
see,
something
like,
else.
Lena
just
Headey's
letting- all she did was complain about
so-
elephants again. We
Oh,
saw
no,
that
but
they bedded, and
you
that
didn't-
could have been a real quick. He goes in the room, bouncing. You already know what happens.
her
So,
acting was
I'll
amazing.
take the jokes
there.
over that crap any day of the week. Trin, we lost her connection, so we'll try to come back there if she gets back here. In the meantime, we'll go to John and some of your thoughts here on these particular scenes.
First off, love seeing the Golden Company in the ship. I thought that was awesome. Cersei doesn't completely trust Euron, yet sleeps with him. So does that mean it's completely over with Jaime? I guess so. So I guess it's over with Jaime. And I'm disappointed there's no elephants. I really wanted to see elephants in that, but I guess like Yardley said, CGI better spent on dragons and White Walkers. I agree with Yardley on Euron. Theon, the redemption arc is almost complete, not just by saving Yara, but deciding to go to Winterfell. Yara going to take the Iron Islands is a smart move. That could provoke Euron to go after her. Cersei wants Bronn to kill her brothers, but I don't think he's going to do it. I think Bronn is going to show that he has some loyalty deep down for Tyrion and Jaime. That's pretty much it. I think that smirk Cersei had afterwards was right after he mentioned about putting a prince in the belly. I think she was thinking about what she was going to do about ordering the killing of Jaime.
All right, awesome. While we're waiting for Trent, I'm just gonna see if I can get a couple comments in here real quick. Let's see. Sam Glycopedia, yay!
Wikipedia.
Mama Cheryl over there in the chat. Danielle. I can't see all the chat for some reason. Why isn't this working? You know,
I don't know. It's kind of weird.
It is weird because I saw some comments. I think it was in Facebook, and I'm sorry if I didn't mention your name, but you mentioned that the rescue scene for Yara was way too fast and way too easy. And I agree.
Thank you. Whoever that is, thank you so much.
I was hoping for a lot more. I don't know who that was. And Jimmy McGee, our very own General Goat, says that, John, I think you're right about Bronn.
Goat.
I think there's some loyalty in him for. I think Jamie's a friend. I just don't think he's gonna sell out completely for money. I think at the end of the day he's gonna choose their side and not kill them.
No way. He's gonna take the money. That's all he cares about is money.
So. I don't think so. I think deep down there's some loyalty, man. There's some loyalty in him, man. Deep down.
If sellswords shown, so it's gonna have to come back and be used by somebody.
If sellswords can leave Stannis, then I think Bronn could have some loyalty.
Maddie says they wasted a lot of time on pointless scenes.
Agreed.
Okay. I think that's true, but I guess I don't know how they write. I'm not a very good writer myself, so I could definitely understand the point. And Kayleen says, nah, Cersei slept with Lancel when it suited her.
Thank you.
It wasn't necessarily over. Jamie, so her sleeping with someone doesn't mean much. She uses sex as a weapon. That's a good point.
Truth.
Yeah,
all right, Trin is here, so I'm gonna unlock here, Trin, so she can get in. All right, you gotta grab your spot here.
Jamie.
But see, we don't know if she's ordered the death of Jamie. We're assuming because, listen, even let's say for the sake of argument that Qyburn has been told to go get Bronn, that he is to tell him, here is the pile of money, go kill Tyrion. He's back here, right? He may have Qyburn, because Qyburn's fucked up. He may have put brothers to get her out of the head. Like, she's so crazy because she misses Jamie. Qyburn's probably like, yeah, fuck it, kill them both. I need her focused. It wouldn't be the first time the Hand of the King did something like that.
Well, I think that, Trin, if you want to jump in here, we're talking about the King's Landing stuff with Cersei, Euron, Qyburn, Bronn, and Captain Strickland. But so we're going to let you go. But I got to say that Qyburn is amazing. He knew that girl was going to die of the pox.
Right.
What a genius. Fronts.
Within the year. He's a new green seer. So we're talking about Cersei, Qyburn, Bronn, Euron, Yara, that whole clip. Okay. I don't know if anybody else paid a lot of attention to the Euron Yara little thing that they didn't say a whole lot together, but what Yara and Euron did talk about foreshadowed possibly something that I think Euron was very specific in saying, because I think Yara said something like, you're on the losing side. And he was like, okay, whatever, cool. Like, I'll just pick up and take the Iron Fleet somewhere else. Like, he's willing to ditch Cersei. He said, after I fuck her.
After I fuck the queen, yeah.
Yeah. And then Cersei, when they're doing the Strickland thing, that wasn't like that big of a deal, but she was pissed off about the elephants. We get it. She talked about it over and over. The discussion between Cersei and Euron and how she was like, oh, you want a whore, buy one. You want a queen, you have to earn her. And then Euron says, how? And he said, I gave you everything. I gave you justice. I gave you this. I gave you this. And but they, during that conversation, they panned in on Cersei's face because she was walking away and she was like kind of out of breath, like, fuck, I've got to do this because it's almost like he was threatening her, passive aggressively. He was like, I've already given you everything. You're leaving me hanging. I want to fuck you. like basically is what it came down to. So it was almost a threat on his part. And that's why she turned around and was like, queen's got to do what a queen's got to do. My best weapon's between my legs. And she told Sansa that in season.
She did.
two.
It all comes full circle.
Your weapon is between your legs, and that's what she told Sansa.
I've been
season
saying that
2.
forever. The women hold all the cards. You got the
Right?
vagina.
So she knew she had to pay up, and then she goes and pays up. And the crazy thing about her paying up was when he like leans down and touches her belly, she looked so irritated and grossed out, like,
Right.
Looked like she was gonna vomit.
don't fucking touch my baby, because she knows she has a baby in there, or she thinks she has a baby in there, or we're supposed to think she has a baby in there. But she was
Yet
so
she's still
pissed
drinking
about,
the wine.
yeah, well, medieval times, but but she just looked really ticked. And I think that moment where we see, like, he walks away and we see her kind of like glossy eyed tearing up. He said, I want to put a baby in your belly. The last time she talked to, well, not the last time, but there was that moment when her and Jaime, she told Jaime, I'm pregnant. And he was like tearing up and was like, who are you going to say is the father? And she was like, you. Well, now if it comes out that she's pregnant, Euron's going to be like, that's my fucking baby. And so she doesn't get that moment where she gets to be in power and control and like, I can do what I want. I'm the queen. Like, and this is Jaime's baby.
Yeah.
She always, both of them always wanted to be able to freely be like, we're a family and we have these kids.
Just
you know what I mean?
Fuckers, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, the Targaryens got away with it. So she felt like she wanted to be able to get away with it. Anyway, so that was the Cersei Euron stuff. Yara, wait a minute, where am I? Oh, Bronn and the horse. Cersei paid in advance with gold, which I thought was enticing for Bronn. And that was Joffrey's crossbow.
He's still waiting for his castle, though.
Yeah. However, the words that Qyburn said were very specific, and he said, I was a drop out of the Citadel, blah, blah, blah. I helped her this, I helped her that. She made me hand to the king. What would she do for the man who rids her of her treasonous brothers? Well, that's an exact quote of Qyburn talking to Bronn. What the fuck left? What is higher than the hand of the queen? Like, is he going to be king? Is he going to be like her husband? Like, that is the biggest proposal Bronn's ever had. What is higher than, like, imagine what she would do for you if you killed her brothers. Like, she would owe you half the kingdom or whatever. Like, so Bronn really has to wrestle with that. Bronn is a sellsword, and Bronn would kill babies for the amount of money. He said it himself. But she really upped the ante with that one. So I mean,
Trin, let me ask you this question.
Mm-hmm.
Did she order the hit on just Tyrion or on both of them? I have a feeling
multiple times
Qyburn did that on his own.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
I think Qyburn added Jaime on his own.
He said brothers multiple times.
Yeah,
so
he did.
If Qyburn did it, maybe. I don't know. I think she might be really pissed off at Jaime.
I can make it. I know she's going to try to kill Tyrion. She wants that. But
yeah.
Jaime, that. Yes, he left. But is she willing to pull the trigger literally and figuratively to kill him?
The crossbow is specific to Tyrion.
Yes. Well, it's kind of specific to Jaime too, because it was Joffrey's.
Also, the Mountain pulled a sword on.
Well, but
back to the season finale of 7.
But he I mean, I don't know. To me, I thought that it was just kind of obvious with the crossbow, and then the mention of poetic justice. So when you say poetic justice, that means that
he said this fucking family.
Yeah, that was.
I don't think Bronn's going to take it up because I think that he knows Cersei's nuts. I think he also knows Cersei's going to lose, and
well, it calls back.
He's there, and he's still there though.
Yeah,
I know, but it calls back to in season 7 when they were having the big meeting, and Tyrion's like, "Oh, remember what I said? Whatever they're paying you, I'll pay double." And Bronn's like, "Don't you worry about me. I'm doing just fine." And he does that whole thing. I think he might think in his head who actually has the likelihood of winning this, and if he has to go north to kill Tyrion and Jaime, he's going to see the threat of the White Walkers, because he didn't see any of that. If you notice, remember in King's Landing, like he walked away for that. He didn't see the White Walker or the White. He didn't see the Oh, never mind. He saw the dragons when he was trying to kill him, but he didn't see the White Walker threat. So if he goes north to try to kill them, he's going to see that the threat is real. He's going to see that they have a bigger army, and
because he only saw the one White in King's Landing.
Mm-hmm. And he's going to see who the winning team is. And if he goes to Tyrion and says, "Hey, your sister offered me this. Can you double it?"
But how can you go north and see that shit show and think that that's the winning team?
That's a good point.
You see what I'm saying?
If you go north,
without phase forward march, I'm gonna go see that the brothers are fucking dead.
Yeah.
Give me my bag, and I'm gonna keep going the other direction.
So then Bronn gets on a ship, with Yara. Anyway, to get back to the whole clip, I liked what Yara said to Theon after he rescued her. And they're on the ship and she's like, "We're going back to Iron Islands." And he was like, "I'll do whatever you want. You're my queen." But she could see it in his face that he wanted to go back to Winterfell.
Still can't believe he pulled that shit off.
And she says, "What is dead may never die." And she hugs him and she said, "But kill the bastards anyway." I really quick want to tell you my theory on Theon and why he's still alive. I know he's going to die, which is inevitable. He had to save Euron somehow, some way. And then not Euron, my God, Yara, somehow, some way. I don't think he's going to kill Euron. But do you guys remember that scene in the throne room where it was Daenerys' throne room in Dragonstone? And it was at the very end of season 7, I think episode 7, where Theon Greyjoy is talking to Jon Snow, and Jon Snow says, "I can't forgive you for everything you've done to my family, but what I can forgive, I do." And Theon's like, "Oh, my sister Yara," and Jon's like, "Oh, why are you standing here talking to me? Go save her." In that little talk, in that little interaction, Jon tells Euron, or I keep saying that, I'm sorry. He tells Theon, "You're a Greyjoy. And you're a Stark." And he refers to Ned Stark as our father because he raised both Jon and Theon. I think the reason Theon's still alive right now is because Jon's about to go through this identity crisis. And Theon's going to repeat those words back to Jon and say, "You are a Targaryen and you are a Stark." I really think that's going to come full circle and play back in. And I think after that, then Theon's toast. But I think that's the only reason that Theon's there to reinforce Jon that he's still a Stark. Because that was a theme that we saw in episode 1 over and over, is like family, family, family. You know, don't forget who you are. Don't forget your family, this and that. So I really think that's the whole purpose of Theon going back to Winterfell. Theon doesn't know it yet, but I think that's what it is.
Okay. Kelly, hello back at you. Hello, what do you think about these scenes here?
I never liked Euron. I felt that the character never had any depth, and he's trying too hard to be that arrogant, flippant asshole. You know, I'm reminded of what Tywin said to Joffrey many, many seasons ago. Anyone who has to keep saying "I am the king" isn't. And I just feel like Euron's trying that hard. But I don't like the character. Theon, I was happy to see him show up. I do think he's gonna die. I don't want him to die though. Like, I like the character. I think the character has redeemed himself in my eyes. And I think that it was a nice dichotomy that he told Yara that he would go with her and obey her as his queen, even though he obviously wanted to stay. And then he gets more kudos for actually wanting to stay and fix what he did wrong.
Oh, good points. Let's see, Julie.
You know, one of the scenes that I Cersei was Qyburn coming and saying, "Your Grace, they broke it through the wall." Good. Bitch, you have no idea what is coming. You have no idea. If you think for 1 second that you're going to be able to spread your legs to the Night King or the Ice King or whatever the hell we're calling him, you've got another thing coming. He don't want you. He don't give a damn. He's coming to conquer. Like, I don't know which game she's fucking pulling, but right off the bat, Cersei is already on my shit list. Already. Like, bitch, just understand what's happening. So that pissed me off. But what I wanted to really talk about is I don't give a damn about the Cersei Euron. I don't care. It's just stupid. It just was unnecessary dialogue. The throne room dialogue was important because it was the Golden Company guy explained to her what troops they had. You know, I don't understand why she was so obsessed with the fucking elephants. Like, let it go. There's no elephants. Get over it. Okay, this isn't Lord of the Rings. Chill. It was so unnecessary. But the thing that really pissed me off about these sequences is the fucking Theon and Yara scene. Like, I was like, okay, so here they are, Theon and his like couple of men that are now on Euron's boat, by the way, and they just
off a boat
or boat ship, whatever,
awesome.
whatever.
Awesome.
And then they just shooting arrows, bloop, 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 and hatchet through the guy's head, which was cool. I'm not going to lie. It was pretty cool. Pulls the hatchet out. He unties Yara and off they go. And I'm just sitting there going, that's it? That's it. Like, you put all this emphasis in the trailer about the ships and that's it. That's all we get is Theon. She puts an arrow in somebody's face, which was a good shot, by the way. And he is a really good marksman. And he throws an axe and slices a guy's face. And then of course Yara punches him, which I loved, by the way. But that was it. I felt so like I went with John. I changed my position on this issue, thinking, okay, Theon is definitely going to save her. But what a bitch way. It's like, what the hell? It was so anticlimactic. I was like,
John,
this is it?
John unmuted himself, and it sounds like he's in a wind tunnel. Jeez, some crow. Wow, that's loud.
I was like, really? This is it?
Julie, you just sparked an idea in me, and I'm not going to take much time with this, but foreshadowing. Yara's going back to Iron Isles to take over their homeland in case Dany needs a place to retreat.
Yes,
that's
if they're
important.
losing.
They're going to lose. And at some point, they're going to lose. They're going to have to retreat. John, go ahead.
Yeah. But I don't think they're going to retreat to Iron Islands, but I do think that he is going to find out. Euron will find out, and he's going to go to Pike, and I think that's going to set up a showdown between Yara and Euron, and I think Yara will kill Euron.
Hey, those are some good points, y'all. I mean, it's hard for me to believe that Jon Snow, the dragon, they're going to take an ass whooping, and that's going to come back into play. Yeah. I just don't think, I just really do. I think they're going to take an ass whooping, and they're going to have to fall back. I agree with y'all. I think that will probably come into play.
No, I think they will lose, but I don't see them going to Pike. Maybe because I think the final battle, like that, they're going to lose in Winterfell, but I think the final battle is King's Landing. We said this before. Maybe they go to Pike first and then go to King's Landing. But I think the final battle will be at King's Landing. But I do think this is going to provoke Euron into going after Euron.
Any final thoughts, Julie?
Yeah. So, Chris, one more thing that I found interesting was Yara sends him to Winterfell, essentially. She understands that his heart is there, that he wants to go and help. He wants to do everything he can because, like Yardley said, he's trying to have that repentance, but the problem is, like I said earlier, he's not going to get through the door. Everything that
though.
Because remember, Theon pretended to burn Bran and Rickon.
Yeah, but Theon, he redeemed that part because Sansa was in charge of Winterfell, essentially, and Sansa is cool with him.
But at the end of the day,
the North remembers.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Like, look at what foreshadowing, obviously, to what we saw coming up. Look at what Jaime's going to have to go through. So it's like, it's just, there's a lot going on there. And I don't know.
A little different. And I think it's a little different because Theon has already had face-to-face time with Jon, had face-to-face time with Sansa. They've both basically
But he
kind
didn't
of
have
forgiven him.
face-to-face time with Arya.
Yeah,
And
but
that
Arya was
is crucial.
way out of the picture when all that was going on.
Yeah, but
So-
I still think that that's a lot. I just don't know how that reception's going to be.
Mhm.
I
Hopefully
hope
Arya
it's
doesn't
okay.
intercept him.
But at the end of the day, what exactly is Theon going to be able to do?
He's not. That's
the
why
other
I
thing.
said I think his whole story arc is to remind Jon that he's a Stark and a Targaryen.
Could
I'm
be.
going to push us forward for the sake of time, but we'll find out soon because Theon is on his way to Winterfell, so we're going to find out. Let's get to the dragon racing, the lovely dragon courting Dany and Jon and Sansa. Yardley, if you could take us into this, please.
Yeah, well, this is a moment that lots of Game of Thrones fans had speculated about, and it finally arrived in this episode. So Jon gets his dragon riding on. I thought that it was pretty cool, but the thing that I noticed, and it actually took me back, and I really liked that they did this, was after they landed, Dany had said the line, "We could stay here for 1,000 years," which was the same thing that Ygritte had said, after she wore him out and took his virginity. And I thought that was pretty cool. But hey, we know how that turned out, so Dany's doomed.
But is she going to do that thing with his tongue, Jon Snow? That's the only next question.
And do y'all remember, like right before they did the dragon riding, Dany and Jon were having a conversation about Sansa, and and Dany kind of came off sounding a little bit threatening, or she was about to get there when she was basically saying that Sansa would have to respect her. And I thought, it's funny that Dany, all the things that she's gone through, she's still gonna have to fight on a bunch of fronts, because just imagine, I mean, gosh, who the fuck wants to be the boss that everybody hates?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's almost like, you think you're all that. We're not bowing because you're all that. We're bowing because you've got a fucking dragon. Outside of that, we were throwing your ass out of here a long time ago. You know what I mean? So I think that she's in just an awkward predicament. She wants to do the right thing, and the people who don't like her or her lineage have valid reasons to, but then you also have to question, do the children carry the sins of the father and all of that type of stuff. But I thought it was cool. I thought it was a little too long, but I thought it was cool.
Yeah, the CGI was really good, though. I'll give you that. And it was definitely not like the never-ending story.
Yeah,
we had in when she was riding, it looked stupid.
Would you have rather had a minute less of that and a minute more of Arya and the Hound?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. 2 thumbs up to that. But I'm curious to know what you think, John, because I know you ship these two like there's no tomorrow. So go ahead, John. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your thoughts?
This is my favorite part of the episode. Jon and Daddy riding dragons. Oh, man, I love this so much. It was so funny seeing Jon like barely get onto the dragon, and he's like, "What do I hold on? Anything?" And then he's almost, and then as he's going over Winterfell, he's almost falling, and you see like Tyrion, Davos, and Varys look up and see him. That was awesome. And then when the dragon's going down, like I just loved. That was so funny, that whole scene. And then when he's down there and he's like, "You're cold," and she's like, "Well, you warmed me up. You warmed your queen up." I thought that was awesome. Just everything about this is, I love this scene. I don't think that she's gonna do anything to Sansa. I think because of Jon. I love how they're like, "How many today?" And he's like, 18 goats, whatever, sheep. I'm like, that's it. It's a lot of fucking food for her. It's crazy. So I obviously they're not eating, but outside of that, I mean, I just love it so much. Just seeing them race the dragons is fun. This is my favorite part. I think we needed this lightheartedness, because I think now we're just gonna get like, probably next episode on is gonna be so dark that a little bit of light. Some of this is awesome. I think we needed this.
I can agree with some of your points there, John. And I did enjoy the back and forth as he's getting on the dragon. And she's like, well, no one knows how to ride a dragon until they ride a dragon, and hold on for dear life. And if you fall off, well, it was nice knowing you. So I agree that a lot of that stuff was fun, but I still think that they could have cut it down a little bit.
I also like you learn how to turn, and I like how he says like you ruin horses for me. I thought that was fun too.
No, that was pretty good.
Is it possible to isn't it crazy how I just wish that somebody would have thought up some type of a contraption to keep them on there. I just don't see it being possible that you could
Got saddle.
Yeah, something. A rubber, maybe a big rubber band or rope.
And also,
maybe they had saddles back then, maybe, and because the dragons were extinct, they got rid of them, so no one has to make it. I don't know.
But dragon bone, I think that's probably something you could chip your way through and run like a leather strap through or something. I don't think it would hurt the dragon if you made something that fastened onto the horns. But they did really pull off the speed, because that one shot of the dragon, I think John mentioned it, when the dragon dipped down really low and it came to that chasm and then he hung that turn. I thought that was pretty dope.
Yeah, that was cool. I get what D&D did with it, and I enjoyed it for what it was. And, well, it is what it is. We can't go back and change it. But, yeah, I agree. It was a good scene. Trin, your thoughts?
Fan service. Obviously, it came to pass. We had to see Jon ride a dragon at some point. I absolutely did not expect it in the first episode. That was kind of surprising. We kind of skipped ahead, so my notes are a little jinky, sorry. But let's see. I thought that there was a moment where Dany was talking to Jon, right? I think it was right before they got on the dragons, when they were in the little like in the camp area, and that's when Tyrion and Davos and Varys were talking about, oh, they're a handsome couple and blah, blah, blah. That was right before they got on the dragons. That conversation was kind of important because Dany was talking to Jon about, oh, your sister doesn't like me, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, she didn't like me when I was a kid either. So if that makes you feel any better. But then Dany basically demanded Sansa's respect from Jon. And I was like, whoa, slow your roll there, girl. Like, you can't just roll up into this place and demand, like, she better bend the knee, and they better bend in the knee, and they better love me, and I have dragons. Like, that was kind of Dany's attitude through this whole episode. And that, like, the first time, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. She's trying to be all regal and queenly, but she did it so much. And you guys know, I love Dany. I'm a big Targaryen supporter. But I was fucking pissed. Like, I did not like the way that Dany was carrying herself this entire episode.
But I think
let's not act brand new, because Dany's been doing that in episodes forever. Ask the Tarly.
Maybe it's just because of Sansa.
They're dead.
Yeah. Maybe it's just, look, my cat Sansa. Anyway.
That stuff is going to come back to bite about that.
Yeah. So anyway, I liked the talk that Davos and Tyrion were talking about before all of that happened. And Davos tells Tyrion, the Northmen are stubborn as goats, and if you want their loyalty, you have to earn it. Those very specific words, if you want the North's loyalty, you have to earn it, was like made a huge impression. Dany is not earning the fucking loyalty of the North. Like, she's not even trying to earn it, which is starting to make me upset. Like, why are they writing it this way?
She will when the whites show up. Mark my words.
Yeah, no, she'll definitely earn it that way, because I don't think that the North realizes she lost a dragon in defense of the North. And if I wish they would talk about that more or say that more, but I think they don't, because of the more that would show the mortality of the dragons. Oh, hi, Sansa. But yeah, this is my Sansa. Davos did propose a marriage between the two. I don't know if you guys caught that, but Davos was because Tyrion said, well, what are you proposing? And he's like, I'm proposing that they basically like solidify this alliance, and the North would be a lot. If they would have said, he went down there, married her in Dragonstone, and came back as king and queen, the North would be a lot more on board. There would be no use of we need to earn the North because we sent our king down. Yeah, it would have solved all the problems, I think, personally. But anyway, they didn't do that. And so now it's almost like just the Northerners are stubborn. That's all. And
that would have solved. You're right, though. That would have solved a lot of problems. And Lady Mormont would have been like, "What are you, king? What are you, lord? What are you, nothing? What are you, a piece of shit?"
Well, Lady Mormont was the voice of the North in that whole situation. She was the one that was saying, like, "We sent you as a king down, and you come back." And she almost said "bastard." She's like, "You came back as whatever you are." I was like, "Damn."
I think Dany has to learn how to not demand respect from the North because they're very stubborn. But I think the North has to learn that there's a bigger picture than all this. Like there's a big threat. And I think the North is underestimating the threat here because they're putting all this stuff ahead of everything, all these squabbles about Jon bending the knee and Dany and all this stuff. When the bigger threat is that the dead is coming. And I think when the dead comes, everyone's just gonna go on to Jon and Dany on they're just gonna be like, okay, Jon, Dany, you're right.
Excellent points. Okay, Julie, I believe you're next.
First of all, when the stupid dragon scene happened, I knew Jon would be so apoplectic on this episode. So I'm so glad he went first or after Yardley because oh my God. All right.
Shoot his load.
He had to. You see how red his face got? He was like, ugh, and he was so excited. I'm pretty sure like his desk went up a couple centimeters. But anyway, first of all, Trin brings up one of the most important scenes and the most important dialogue in the entire process of what we're talking about between Davos, Tyrion, and Viserys. The three of them, the three of them don't just say, they need to marry. What they say is they need to rule together as a king and a queen. That is extremely important. They are proposing that it is a dual partnership. That's important, especially with what Jon finds out later on, which we'll get to. That is a crucial scene. Do not pretend that didn't happen. That is extremely important. That the hand of the queen, the Onion Knight, Sir Davos, and the snake have that idea in their brains. That's important. Now let's get to the date on the dragons, right? First of all,
Julie, you forgot nothing last. Remember your boy.
Very important.
I'm sorry, what?
That was the most important. The most important part to me was when Varys said after they went on the whole thing about ruling together, he said that nothing lasts. There's a lot of foreshadowing.
That is true. Yeah.
I think Dany's going down the drain.
Well, yeah, I think we all know that. I think Trin and I talked at length about what we think is going to happen with Dany down the road. But so now let's get to the dragon. I knew Jon was going to ride the dragon. I think we all thought that when we saw the trailer, that scene with the dragons flying. Yeah, well, we all thought that was going to actually happen. You are so disgusting. But I seriously thought that Jon would ride Drogon. I did not think that he would ride the other one. I can't remember the other one's name. Sorry. Nobody really gives a damn. But I felt, here's what really got me. I absolutely loved the whole sequence of events. I thought it was extremely important to not only the character development, but it's also extremely important to Jon's now development transitioning to a Targaryen. And I think it's important for their eventual joining because that's a very key scene. Yes, they bet each other on the ship. They did all that stuff. He bent the knee. He put, but this was them actually coming together, and you can see that there really is a spark between them, which is important to see, I feel. But I think what in the entire part of this, what really got me was what Drogon did when Jon was kissing Dany. Now, my mom was watching it with me, and she was like, oh, he doesn't look like... I saw it a different way. I saw that dragon pissed off as shit that Jon was kissing his mother.
Yes.
Like
I don't
nostrils
see that.
flared. He was pissed off.
That was
Like,
the
who
first
the
time we saw dragons
No.
have like personality.
emotion. It had an
Yeah.
emotion.
That
Yeah.
dragon was not angry. It was acceptance.
Listen,
I think
you
he was like his nostrils were
I think
flaring
it's-
like
listen,
Always
I've
was
had
pissed
a
off.
ton
If
of
you had
people.
horns coming out of your face everywhere, you'd be pissed off all the time.
Well, no,
too.
but here's what I'm saying, Chris. I've heard a lot of people interpret that particular scene extremely differently. Mom interpreted it as the dragon is accepting. That's not how I saw it. When I saw that dragon's eyes go a little lower and his nostrils flare, and the way Jon looked back at him, that was fear. Like Jon was afraid, and Drogon was like, "Motherfucker, don't kiss my mother." Like there was something there. I don't know if it's like accepting, like so many people are saying. It didn't feel like it to me. It absolutely did not feel like it to me.
No. And I think, and what first thought on that was Drogon was named after Drogo, Khal Drogo, her
Exactly.
first husband. And I was like,
Exactly.
the dragon's jealous.
I think, and that could be, Trin, you might be onto something too, because remember, we
Yes.
all are going back to that. Remember, we talked about it, you and I, about how that tower dream sequence is going to come back into play. And the fact that she goes through the wall and she goes to Drogo, Khal Drogo, that's important. If Khal Drogo is Drogon reincarnated, he is going to try to kill Jon.
Some tinfoil shit right there.
That is some tinfoil shit. That's right. But at the end of the day, you've got to think like that was a really weird scene. And then I want to say this about the Jon and Sansa interaction that they had in the room. I'm going to say this. Sansa has grown on me as the series has progressed. At first she was this head in the clouds. I'm going to King's Landing to be a princess and the future queen and da-da-da-da. Right. So she had the head in the clouds, and then she had this really hard time, trying to survive. And I felt bad for her. And you go through this roller coaster with Sansa the whole way. And then you get Sansa, who has a little bit of power, who now feels like she's got a little bit bigger balls, right? Because she's killed, people, and people are afraid of her. And the Tyrion Sansa interaction was very good. We didn't talk about it, but we'll go into it in depth when we dive into this deeper. But I think this is another example, and Trin and I talked about it, that is the first season is foreshadowing this. If there's mirrored images. And in the first season, Sansa was head in the clouds. I'm going to King's Landing. It's going to be amazing. And now you have Sansa doing the exact same thing. I don't like her, blah, blah, blah. Bitch, you don't have time to not like her. You don't have time to not like her. You have no idea what is coming over that wall, which is already now through the wall. You have no idea. You don't have time for this petty shit. You don't have time. You're not going to and I agree with Trin. Dany is getting a little too forceful with bend the knee, do this, do that. Like, Dany, calm down. Okay. Let them see you for who you are. You are not that person. You are not your father. You are not like him. You are different than that, which is why you've survived this long and why you have all these people that continue to stay with you and are loyal to you, because you are very different than your father. But at the end of the day, Sansa, you need to calm the F down. You don't have a clue. You are completely clueless when it comes to this. So you need to trust Jon. And when he said that, don't you trust me? You saw Sansa kind of break a little bit like, yeah, I do actually. Like, this is a serious thing. And what goes back to what Bran said at the beginning. We don't have time for this shit. We literally don't have time for this shit. Like, get over yourself. Stop it, knock it off. Either accept her, don't accept her. But at the end of the day, you're all about to be fodder for these White Walkers. So get your shit together. I thought that was a very important scene as well.
All right, excellent. Kelly, you're up.
I like the dragon racing. I thought it was cute. I thought it was a needed moment of levity. And I enjoyed that Jon wasn't just magically good at it somehow. I like that he literally almost took a swan dive off the dragon a few times. And I have to go with the look from the dragon being acceptance. I didn't think it was pissed.
I was hoping I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate for this, but I was hoping that John was gonna fall off, and that would have been like the end of the story, and then like the show's over, and everyone goes, "What the fuck happened to the Game of Thrones?"
No, so Jon Snow falls off, Chris.
Lights out, everybody.
Down to catch him, and then he gets impaled on the horns.
And we have to wait for Melisandre to come and resurrect his stupid ass
Again.
again. That would have been good. All right, so we're going to try to pick up the pace a little bit because we still have a lot to cover. Number 4, the Hand, the Eunuch, and the Advisor, Tyrion, Davos, and Varys. We touched a little bit on this, but we're going to.
I think we could go past it, couldn't we? If we already touched on it.
Yeah, I think we covered that.
We covered that pretty good.
Yeah.
Everyone's okay with that. No other comments that they wanted to add with that.
No.
Okay, we'll go to Winterfell. Forging ahead, Gendry, Arya, and the Hound. I think it was too much Gendry, Arya. I think that they're going to make flippity flop, and I don't think it was enough Arya and the Hound. Go ahead, Yardley.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? It was kind of cool to see Gendry and Arya both see each other after they've grown, a lot. They've both had a lot of different experiences. I don't think that we really, I think for the most part, I think that we learned that Gendry was just smithing and, going from group to group. But I thought it was cool to see them a little bit more grown, so to speak. But I don't think that Gendry's role in this story is going to be much more important than, being a smith. Of course, his role is going to be needed in the war to come. But I do think that there is going to be some type of a payoff. I think depending on what happens in the next couple of episodes, I do have a feeling that this season we will see Arya and Gendry fighting in the same room together. I do think we'll get that scene. I totally wouldn't be surprised if we got a scene with her and the Hound, but I'm leaning more towards Gendry because for me, his character is just made for that one role. And I think they're going to get, I think everybody is going to get a little bit of a treat of a cool scene. Even if it's a death scene, I think that everybody's going to get their due. So I look forward to hopefully seeing them potentially fighting whites together. And the quip that the Hound gave Arya, I think that was straight to the point. I do think that we needed more time, but when the Hound was basically said that Arya is still alive because she was a bitch, I thought that was kind of awesome. But I think it was just too short. I mean, don't y'all kind of feel like they've earned to have a little bit longer scene?
Hell yes.
But if you think about it,
didn't they go through like 6 episodes together as like a team or something?
What exactly expect from a Hound Arya reunion? They're not going to be mushy towards each other at all. You know what I'm saying? So I think the quipping that they did back and forth was perfect.
But it's one of those things where he could have made a comment. Well, we know that he's met up with Brienne, but I do think that maybe I don't know. I don't know how it would play out, but I know with all of the things they went through, it shouldn't have been 30 seconds.
I think they're going to have a lot more scenes together in the future.
I hope so, because that scene more time between her and Gendry. And I think the only important thing out of that was the paper Gendry was handed.
I think that is the most important part of it. That weapon is crucial.
We'll see that weapon. Yeah.
All right, Trin, you're up.
All right. So Hart, the Hound and Arya were frenemies.
Yes, they were definitely.
They were definitely frenemies. She took him off the list because she said that when she was training with the Faceless Man, like, no, he's not really on my list anymore, whatever. I think that scene between the two of them showed in their way, and we have to think that they don't think like we do. They're both very cold-hearted, and he said that, like, you're a cold-hearted bitch now. They don't think like we do, so that was their way of kind of showing mutual respect. And when he said, you tried to kill me last time I saw you, and she's like, first I robbed you. Like, she was basically rubbing it in his face. And the thing that I took away from this is there was no hard feelings between them because they ended it so quickly. There was no hard feelings because they're on the same team now. They're both on the same team. Like, they're both fighting for the living. So they're being like quick and done without mushiness. It was kind of perfect. It was kind of perfect.
she should have asked him how the hell he's alive, to be honest with you.
Right?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And then the whole Gendry Arya thing, I think the producers are trying, or the writers or whoever are trying to make us ship Arya and Gendry, which some of us have been already doing forever and ever. and it's been really fun this episode to see Arya go from her assassin face to when she breaks into her emotional human self. She did it with Jon. She did it. I've seen it one other time prior to this, and that was when she was at the end of the crossroads talking to Hot Pie, where she was very assassin face the whole time.
Pie, I miss Hot Pie.
And she was assassin face the whole time. And then towards the end, when he was like, Arya, we're survivors. And she's like, take care of yourself, Hot Pie. Like, she turned human again. Well, she did that with Jon.
Yeah.
And then she did that with Gendry, where she was like very assassin face and like all business. And then he was like, oh, milady, the way he used to tease her when they were kids. And that broke her. You could see like an immediate great acting on Maisie Williams' part. And then she goes into full fucking flirt mode with him. And I don't know if that's like fan service, you know, wanting us to hope there's a relationship.
Total fan service. Straight up. It was so unnecessary. It didn't need to be in there.
I mean, it works because if you think about it, what are the chances that Sansa is ever going to be in a relationship again? I think they're almost none.
Well,
and
her
Sansa,
husband is there, so she's good.
Yeah. Sansa was raised to be the lady, raised to be a wife, raised to be a mother. And Sansa probably won't fill those roles. Whereas Arya knows that's not her path. So it's kind of cool to see her breaking the stereotypes. Like, she's a tomboy and she's a tough assassin who can also have a love interest. Just saying. That's all I have to say about that.
John, you're up, pal.
I'll make this short. The scene was fun and Arya reunion was good, and so was Arya. And Arya and Gendry. I can't wait to see the weapon Arya wants Gendry to make. It looks like a spear that comes apart, so I can't wait for that. It's hard to make weapons out of glass, and that's a big axe.
Yeah, big ass dragon glass axe. I didn't know they were going to be able to make a weapon like that, so that's pretty cool.
And since when does he wield an axe? Oh, you know what? Never mind.
Gendry's always.
No, not Gendry.
Okay.
The Hound.
Oh,
but
yeah.
It just hit me that remember after he almost died and that one Septon got him and he was with the like little cult of people. He was an axe guy.
And then you had that hammer thing when they went to go catch a white, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
He took Gendry's hammer.
Yeah. So because Gendry had to run.
Mm-hmm.
I was running.
Mm-hmm.
God, he could run fast. Jeez, crow. Julie, you're up, kid.
So I kind of agree a lot with what Trin is saying there, but for me, I felt like the Arya and the Hound scene could have had a little more substance to it, meaning like, you know, he didn't even ask what she'd been up to, you know, and Chris, I think you brought up the whole, or maybe it was Yardley, doesn't say anything about Brienne, you know, I don't know. I mean, it just kind of fell flat for me a little bit. I was expecting a little bit more, just a little bit more. Maybe if we didn't have the 45 seconds of the dick and ball jokes, maybe we would have been okay with that. Yeah, the Gendry Arya scenario, I think a lot of us have been like, thank God, here it comes. This is what we've been waiting for. So it's not really a surprise. I think what was more important in that sequence of events was, number one, the axe that the Hound once made, which I think is gonna look super badass, by the way. And I hope they make a replica because I wanna buy it. But I think what's really important, I think, is the schematic that Arya gave to Gendry. It looked like a shooting dart device or like a collapsible like dagger type thing. I'm not sure. It looked neat. It looked like it had a twist compartment, and I have to go back and like pause it and look at it, or I have to find it online. I haven't gotten a chance to really look at the schematic, but it looks like an assassin tool. So I
remember
think it's going to happen.
Yeah, remember in the preview, like the one really good trailer we got, there was that one moment where you saw Arya with like a staff, but it looked like it had like dragon glass at the end. I think it's like a two-headed spear.
Yeah, I think you're right.
She can unscrew and then dual wield.
Yeah, I think it's like collapsible. I have a feeling that. Yeah. I have a feeling that this is going to be a pretty important weapon going forward, or else why show the schematic? But I have a feeling that Arya is going to have to either run or she's going to leave. Well, I think we're all in agreement she's going to King's Landing. I don't think any of us are thinking. I mean, maybe there are. I don't know. But I think that schematic and that weapon is very significant, and I hope next week's episode, I hope Gendry has finished it, and I think he will, because this is the speed of time of what we're going through here. I really want to see this weapon. I think it's going to be quite powerful, and I don't think she's going to need the little dagger, and I really don't think she's going to need needle anymore. But I mean, it'll be interesting to see what this weapon is.
That's a good point, Julie. I think it's just a staff. It's just to increase her reach. Just like you said, needle and a dagger are cool to have, but when you're her size, you're gonna need something to keep something else off.
Well, she had all that training with the waif and
with the staff, that huge like bamboo stick. Yeah.
Didn't it look like in the schematic that the end shot out of it?
That's what it looked like to me. Like it was like a collapsible thing, or like it was a shooting dart type of thing.
I think it just unscrewed, honestly. But
we'll find out.
Yeah.
Kelly, holla at ya. You're up.
Not too much to say about this one. I definitely wanted to see more of Arya and the Hound. But I like that they seem to have come to a new place with each other. Like, they have respect for each other now. And I was never one of those people who shipped, God, I hate that word, Gendry and Arya, but I think them meeting together and dealing with each other, now that they both know who they are and what they are, was really nice.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I go with that. I could see Gendry and Arya, making flippity flop. I could see that happening. They were kind of making eyes at each other,
So, Chris, real quick, I happened to pull up a picture of the schematic, and it looks like it says dragon glass at the top. She has like a little line that says dragon glass in the spear, and then she has the little piece off the end of the spear with an arrow pointing that it goes into this other end, where it looks like there's a screw, like a threaded area. And it looks to be about yay long, but I have a feeling this is a collapsible item, or at least it shoots out, something like that.
Yeah, I think it's something that she can conceal and something that she can put together. I think that's simply just what it is, just something that she can
that's a good point.
Conceal. I mean, that's
Our next scene is Winterfell. We're back in Winterfell. Everyone knows who they are until they don't. Dany, Jorah, Sam. We have Sam and Bran, and God damn it, Bran. And we have Jon and Sam. So a couple different scenes going on here. To me, the big thing, other than, oh, Jon, you're the king, is the whole, yeah, thank you for helping Jorah, and I killed your fucking family.
Yo, that was so sad. I felt so bad for him.
Every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. And Dany's learning that. So go ahead, Yarly, you're up.
No, I mean, Sam's a bitch ass. How do you snitch on yourself the first time you meet your boss and then tell him that you stole from the fucking last job that you had? He dry snitched on himself, and had he not done that, he wouldn't have even found out that his parents and brother were dead.
That's a good
So
point.
he fucked himself over.
That's a good point.
And that's my comment.
That's a very good point.
All right, Trin.
Where are my notes? Are we just talking about
We're talking about the Dany, Jorah,
Sam?
The whole thing.
And the Sam Bran and the Jon Sam?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Well,
Where do we begin?
Yeah, right. Okay. First of all, I'm really glad, and I've talked to other people, like real human beings in my life, about this. I'm so glad that Dany was honest with Sam. And their whole purpose of meeting Sam was to thank him. Unfortunately, that totally blew up in their faces. And they were like, oh, we wanted to come thank you and like congratulate you. You saved Jorah's life. And he's been, an integral part of this whole situation. And when Sam brought that whole thing up, she did qualify it with Sam and say, I offered to let him retain his lands and titles. So like, it's fucking on him. Like your dad chose his fate. Your brother then chose the same fate. Like I offered to save your family. They chose. And if you go back and rewatch it, like she did multiple times, be like, I'm trying to let you guys off the hook here. It's on you. And they were just assholes and proud. I can appreciate the scene and I can appreciate John Bradley's acting and I can appreciate everything about that. However, I think it was a little over the top. Like, first of all, Sam, he was kicked out of his family and his father said, I'm basically going to murder you if you don't go take the black. So
yeah, but I think he was more upset about his brother.
Right. And he started to get a little like teary-eyed with his dad. And then he broke and was full on crying.
That was good.
Chris's reaction.
Go back and watch it. It's seriously like he starts getting all like lip quivering and just sad eyes when she's saying, I told your father like he could keep his titles, and I tried to save him.
This is a guy that stabbed the White Walker, and he's crying like a little bitch.
I know. So that's why I think that was
Sam face.
Yeah, I feel like it was a little bit overdone on Samwell's part. Like I understand Sam's a very tender character, and he is very emotional and all that, but he's also Sam the Slayer, and he's been through enough that like that shouldn't have impacted him as much. I get the brother part. The brother part, that's a lot more impactful. But he was just about to say, like he had just said, I took a sword that would have been mine anyway because he's the rightful head of the household after his dad dies.
Right.
And so, yeah, it sucks that his little brother got fricasseed or whatever. But
I do have to stick this in here real quick. As far as the Tarleys were concerned, though, remember, Dany didn't give him every chance because Tyrion knew the politics and said, send them to the wall. And then she got fucking greedy and burnt them up.
She was setting a precedent. I mean, I can kind of see both sides.
Same girl though that said she's going to break the wheel.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
She broke something, all right.
Yeah. So,
and the only reason why I say that that's important is just the fact that that was another occasion of Dany not listening to people in a land where they're from. He was like, "Yo, send them to the wall," and she didn't do it. So I mean, and she can thank Lady Olenna for that.
That's
everybody thinks.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
It's a job.
But let's think about this. Let's think about this realistically. Even if. And Yardley, I completely agree with you. You know, she should have listened to what Tyrion said and sent them to the wall. But they wouldn't have survived that because we already know what's coming. So that is, I think in retrospect, she felt like she did the right choice. I don't necessarily agree with the choice, but Tarly made his own choice. He stood there in defiance. All he had to do was bend the knee and the guy would still be alive and he wouldn't be a crispy critter.
Yeah.
It's easier said than done in this world though.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't for John.
And also when, you know,
but he's been
I think they would have did okay at the wall. Hell, Ed's still alive, so why in the hell can
but remember they were in a very different position than where you know what I'm saying? So the only reason why I say, and Chris, the reason why I say yes, you're right with John in love, but he also bent the knee because he loved Winterfell. and he
Danielle-
knows what's coming. That's the end game here.
Danielle
Kind of.
makes the point. Randall said, "You're not my queen. You can't."
He did say that to her. You
Oh.
can't tell me to go to the wall because you're not my queen.
Yeah. So there's a lot of back and forth here. I think the best thing that should have happened is that at least the boy should have been left out. Whatever the young
Dickon.
He stood next to his
Yeah,
father.
Dickon.
He made his own. Look,
He did.
Forget the name
Listen.
Dickon.
you are responsible for your own actions. Even in the Game of Thrones, he made a conscious decision to stand next to his father in solidarity. This is what
Even though
happened.
his father opposed it too.
Exactly.
So yeah. Anyway, Chris, you just said something that in my notes we skipped over. It's not in our show notes. The whole Sansa Jon moment where they're alone together talking about it.
we kind of touched on it.
Where they got the Raven from the Glovers saying they're going to stay at Deepwood Mott.
Oh, we didn't talk about that.
No.
Yeah, we did skip through that.
So basically, that's when Sansa said, and there's a few $1 million questions in this episode, and this is one of them. And she said, "Did you bend the knee to save the North, or because you love her?" Sansa's really good at reading people now, like really, really good, and she sees
power.
Yeah, she's got Tyrion's old power because he used to be.
I
Really
think it's
good.
both. I think that question is
I
both.
don't like the way she holds herself though.
Well, don't forget, she learned more from Littlefinger than everybody else, though.
That's true.
Let's give
Exactly.
Littlefinger some
Okay,
props here.
no, Yardley, please.
Oh boy, here we go.
Please listen to what I'm about to say, just really quick.
Here
Let
we
me say
go.
this. Last season, when Sansa was playing the long game against Littlefinger, against him, there was a fuck ton of information that we did not see on screen, where Sansa, Arya, and Bran obviously had conversations about tons of stuff regarding Littlefinger off screen. And it was implied later after we figured it all out, but it was never on screen. I believe right now that Sansa, Arya, and Bran have had conversations about Jon's lineage because of the way that Arya said, "Don't forget, we're family," when she was hugging Jon at the reunion. And go back and watch this scene where Sansa and Jon are talking about the whole Glovers not showing up. Sansa starts to cry. And I think it's because she knows that Jon is the real king, and he's, been her brother for her whole life, but and she does love him and respect him and trust him. But he bent the knee, and I think she's kind of upset because she realizes he's Aegon. I think she knows he's Aegon Targaryen. I think Arya knows as well. I'm just going to throw that out there. So anyway, did you hear what I said, Yardley? Were you listening? I know it's probably a little tinfoily, but I really do think because they already set the precedent from last season. There's a lot of off screen with the Stark kids.
Speaking of off screen, did my next person just go to the bathroom?
No,
yeah.
I think it's either Jon or Kelly.
Oh no, it's Jon. Jon's next. So we'll do Jon and then Julie. So Jon, go ahead, man. What do you think of this stuff?
I felt bad for Sam here, hearing that your father and brother were executed by the did it. That hurt a lot. Sam quivered like that. Sam telling Jon who he really is in front of his father's statue and in front of Lyanna's statue too. So I agree with Yardley on what he said, and I think that's pretty much it.
I'm surprised you weren't more passionate about that part. When they're told, "Hey, Jon, you are."
I mean, what needs to be said? He's conflicted. He's conflicted. He's like, it's treasonous. I mean, a lot of shits. I mean, I think we're gonna know more next episode, but I think for now, he's very right to be conflicted because he's like, he just found some life. He's like, my father was honorable, and then Sam has to tell him his father promised to protect you. So I mean, and I'm trying to move along here, so because I gotta go to work in soon. So
2 minutes.
Did you need us to close you out, Jon?
No. Go. Don't worry, just fine. Let's just go.
All right.
Well,
very-
So we were
remember,
going to talk
one of
about the
the
Sam
things that
Bran
was
thing.
said was when Sam was mentioning, hey, saying you gave up the throne so that you could get with the people, and would she be willing to do the same? And I think on a lot of different fronts,
The $1 million question.
yeah, that Dany's gonna have to show and prove. Maybe her respect comes somehow, but who knows?
That's probably
I think that
the
they're
most important question.
I think that we're missing another question here, another point that John just found out that he fucked his cousin.
His
It's
It's
aunt.
not his cousin, it's his aunt.
And
Or his aunt, whatever. Still, aunt, cousin. It's still bad. That's bad.
It didn't
It's
even phase
Targaryen.
him, though. You
That's
notice
what
it. That's not even what he went to. His immediate thought was
fuck.
about his father.
Yeah, no fucks. Although he did get fucked. I'm just saying. So let's move to Julie.
Well,
It's your turn, Julie.
so I know we're going to be discussing all of this part, the Dany, the Jorah, the Sam thing. First of all, I cannot agree with Trin more that at least Dany gave him the respect to tell him the truth. It came from her and nobody else.
It was an accident, though.
It may have been an accident, but in that moment, she decided to tell him the truth. She could have been like, well, fuck you. I don't really care about your family. I burned him to a crisp. Like, she didn't have to tell him. She could have just been like, but she didn't. She was respectful and said, well, I gave him the opportunity. He decided against it. And I think that was a very important part. That also leads into Sam talking to John in the crypts, but we'll get to that in a minute. Jorah, poor Jorah, doesn't have a damn thing to say in the entire episode. I think he had like 2 words, maybe. I don't even think he said anything. He kind of just looked at her and he was like,
oh
whoops,
shit.
we shouldn't have said
Awkward
that. Right?
moment.
He said a
Like,
lot with
yeah.
his face.
Yeah, thanks
Yeah,
for saving me from the grayscale. Oh, by the way, my queen just killed your father. Like, it was a very awkward situation. I agree with Trin. I thought the acting was a little bit over the fact, I mean, a little bit of tears for his brother would have made sense. I think it was a little much. And Yardley's right. You just told your new boss. You stole from your old boss. That was a little fucked up. I totally agree with that. But I think, and this leads into a couple things. Number one, I'm going to say this. When Sam went outside and saw Bran, Chris's new dream creeper, sitting there, what are you doing out here? Waiting for an old friend. I had no fucking clue who he was fucking waiting for. And then I was like, but we'll get to that. Anyway,
it was dark when Sam
dark.
talked to him, but the old friend, it was the next morning.
Yes.
I waited all fucking night for that.
I'm going to say I was not expecting that.
Telling you, he's a creeper.
I was not expecting that. I'm just going to say that. I thought it was going to be somebody completely else. And we'll talk about that toward the end. But anyway, I think the reason why Sam has the reaction that he does with John is because Dany just told him that she killed his father and his brother. That conversation with John would have went 1,000 times different if that interaction between him and Dany, with Sam and Dany, did not happen.
And notice it was in private. It was in private.
It wasn't private.
John Stoma, Stark lover. It was a private conversation.
Got that, Darian?
It was private. I will say I was a bit surprised that Bran was not in there just to give more claim to it. But I understand what Bran said. He trusts you more. You're more like his brother than me.
Yeah,
I'm not his brother. It's basically, he says that. Like, he goes right at it. He's like, I'm not his brother. But essentially, Sam, you are, because you are his brother of the Night's Watch.
Right.
So he trusts you to give him this information. And I think that was important. I think also Sam wouldn't have said the things, but you are actually the ruler of the throne. He wouldn't have said shit like that.
Was Kelly saying something?
Did she? No,
it was the audio glitch. Sorry, guys.
Oh, okay. I just didn't want to talk over Kelly. I love Kelly to death. I loved the entire sequence of events that happened in the crypt. I love the fact that John was down there on his own, talking, basically, having that moment with his father in private before Sam comes down there, and then Sam falls, and of course John's like, "What the hell?" Right?
That was
Poor
so
Sam.
classic Sam.
when I wrote my notes, I don't know if you can see it. I put a little sad face next to Sam because I felt bad for him. I'm like, oh, poor Sam. And then I'm like, then when Trin said it, I'm like, yeah, it was a little overkill. But I do feel bad for him. But I thought that was a very important scene between Jon and Sam, and the setup to what Jon now knows and what Jon now has to work out in his own head. Does he, here's the thing. And Mom and I were talking about this when we were watching the episode. She said that nobody is now going to accept Jon and Dany because now now Jon's not a Stark. But I'm like, but he is a Stark. But here's the thing. And then she's like, oh my God, they're going to try to take the Iron Throne. I was like, Jon doesn't want it, and I said, there's only 3 people in the world that know it. There's only 3 people in the world that know that Jon is a Targaryen at this moment. Sam, Bran, and now Jon. Those are the only 3 people that know it. They can choose to say nothing and just fight this war that's about to happen and talk about it after the fact if they survive. And if they don't survive, well, then nobody gets hurt. No harm, no foul. But by talking about it now, I think we'll have dire consequences for the conflict that's incoming. I really do. I think Jon's head has to stay focused on the task at hand. He can't be bogged down by the politics and the bullshit that's going to come from now revealing that he is an actual Targaryen bloodline. He may tell Dany. I don't know. We'll have to wait until the next episode. But I think there's 3 people in the world that know about it that are alive. Nobody needs to say a word right now. You can wait and hold off until the end.
I agree because Jon is always the guy who realizes what's important.
Correct.
And even though I didn't get to talk about the Sam Jon thing, so I'm just going to say this. Sam delivered that flawlessly to Jon. In my opinion, he went from talking about his own family to talking about you're the rightful king of the 7 kingdoms, not just the, giving up your crown, into this is who your parents and your lineage is. You're the rightful king, Dany. And he gave her the $1 million question. You gave your crown to save your people. Would she do the same? Jon has to really think about that. His first thoughts weren't about, oh, I fucked my aunt. His first thoughts were, you mean my dad? My father lied to me the whole time. And Sam was really good about bringing it back and saying, no, he kept you alive because of the promise he made. Robert would have killed you. And that's all true. So
that's crucial. That was crucial.
But Jon always thinks about what's the really important part of every situation. And Jon's always been the one to unite people saying, look, don't focus on the politics, focus on the real threat. And so I think you're right, Julie. Jon's going to bring it back and be like, this is not necessary information in fighting the Night King. This will be necessary information if we make it out of here.
Exactly. Before we move on to Kelly, I just got to say, what is Dany going to do at the Citadel for Sam?
Give him a pardon?
Was that necessary? God, she's getting too big.
Well, it essentially it is a crucial point because he stole a sacred document. That is like if you walked into the Vatican and stole the very first holy Bible that they have.
You're not going to get out of there alive.
That's what I'm saying. It's essentially the exact same thing. It is a crime against the religion. So she definitely can pardon him and keep him within the sept itself and have him still retain his maester, become a maester.
Okay. Kelly, you're up.
I liked the interaction between Sam and Dany. I don't think it was overkill for one reason. I think that Sam and his dad had a horrible relationship, but I think what Sam was probably mourning more than the death of his father and his brother was the fact that he would no longer ever be able to win his father's approval. And that's a horrible realization to have. And nothing he can do will change that. And I think that's where a lot of his sadness came from. for, and yeah, I knew Dan as soon as like they started putting two and two together. I knew Danny was going to tell him, it's not her way to deny something she did. She'll stand behind it till the very end, and I think she made the right choice in roasting them. The oath that Charlie's made wasn't worth dying over. I mean, it's great that you want to stand behind your word and yada yada yada, but people made an oath to Hitler too, and
That's a good point.
Good Lord.
I, I hope eventually Sam realizes that, and yeah, she gave them a chance. Yes, they were backing the wrong side. And I think the John and Sam scene was just wonderful. Just for both of the actors did a wonderful job at it.
Yeah, the whole scene, I think each part of it played out pretty good, and we got a lot of information and a lot of foreshadowing into what's coming up. But there's going to be issues going to happen. Now, John, I know you have to go to work, buddy. So I want to thank you for being on the podcast, John. And if you want to do, let people know where you are, and we'll see you on the next episode, pal.
Should I do my sword rating now, or?
Oh yeah, give me your sword rating. So whenever we do these episodes, we do a sword rating, and
so my sword rating is 8 swords out of 10. I have two favorite scenes. One is John riding the dragon and the Unsullied marching into Winterfell. That's pretty much it. I'll see you guys later.
Well, how many swords did you give it?
8 swords out of 10.
Are we doing 10 swords or are we doing 5?
I don't know. I on the show notes it said 10.
I think we did it at 8 out of 10. But
we did it 10. All right, we'll do 10.
Format,
we'll stick with 10. That's fine. So 8 out of 10. Awesome. All right, John. Thanks for being on the show, buddy. Get some rest.
See you guys later.
Get to work. Actually, go get some work.
Goodbye.
Break time's over. Get to work. Buddy. Now, I just want to mention everyone who is checking us out in Get Vocal. That's GETVOKL.com, where we do the live show. That there is a time limit on how long you can record and Get Vocal. So you can stay in here in the live, but it will not record anymore on Get Vocal. So if you want to catch the rest of the podcast, you have to get it on BehindTheIronThrone.tv, on the Facebook Live, on the Periscope, because I don't know if those are limited or not. I'll find out. This is
we're still recording on Periscope. We're good.
Okay, good. So it's going to stop recording. I don't know if it's going to stop broadcasting, but we'll still have the podcast. So we'll still be live. You can still stay in the chat room. I hope it still works. I don't know, because this wasn't supposed to be this long of a show. So we'll have to wait and see. But like I said, worst case scenario, you can get the podcast. So I'm sorry. We're still experimenting with this. I didn't know there was a time limit. So I'm very, very sorry about that.
We're also on YouTube and our Facebook channel too. So if you want to continue to, interact with us there, you absolutely can.
Yeah. So very, very sorry about that. All right. So the wall, the pinwheel of death, Tormund, Beric Dondarrion, and Ed. Let's go here. Go ahead, Yardley. Take it away.
Yeah, you know what? My main takeaway from this is just finding out that the kid who I saw earlier asking for supplies ended up getting bushwhacked and made into some wall art made me sad. So you know what? That was messed up, and I'll just say that was probably the highlight of the thing, outside of seeing Tormund and Beric Dondarrion.
I have blue eyes. I have blue eyes. I'll tell you what, I had nightmares.
You don't have blue eyes.
Trin. No, not me.
Oh.
I'm referring to...
I got you. I'm with you.
Tormund. Go ahead, Trin.
Yeah, so they actually panned the castle, and this was House Umber. They showed their little chains or whatever for House Umber when they came up to the castle, and it was crazy that you saw Beric Dondarrion and Tormund Giantsbane, because they just came from Eastwatch, and then they meet up with Dolorous Ed, who just came from Castle Black. And for those that aren't familiar with the map of Westeros, the last hearth, which is House Umber's castle is the one that's closest to the wall, in between the wall and Winterfell. So that's kind of like everybody kind of knew. Anybody who does any kind of research, if you look on a map, like that's the first place that's getting totaled by the White Walkers when they come through. So I didn't really think about this, but when we saw the kid and they were like, "Oh, go get all your family," and then later in the show, you see the Karstarks and all their people safely walking into Winterfell, but you don't see anybody from House Umber. That was like, okay. The other thing was there are no bodies in this entire area. Like you see blood splattered all over the place, blood on the floor, blood in the snow, and it's all full of snow, but there's no bodies until they get to Dollar Said and Tormund have their